So, welcome everyone to the live stream breaking down my latest track, Falling For It. Just breaking down every single element. So we've got this in like Ableton. We've got the whole set out, laid out how I perform it live, and then we'll be jumping into the Touchdesigner network to cover exactly what I do there. Okay, all right, let's just jump into it. Because I'm really excited to do this, and we're going to break it down element by element, and it's going to be great. So as you can already guess, if you know Touchdesigner, this is all a big feedback loop. I'll show you quickly my Ableton set. So if I jump over to here, we've got the whole song laid out. This is a bit different to what I normally have. You can see I've got, because I didn't mix the song, like I'm good at production, and I had a bit of help from my friend Koa on the production of this song too. But these are all the stems that are mixed by Joe Grasso. He did a great job. It sounds real killer. So we've got all the stems here, so it sounds good. And so like all I've got, this is just summing into a limiter. This isn't the exact set that I use to perform live. We don't need any of this. There's a few little differences because I have multiple songs in my live set, so I can switch between them all. This is the the demo version because I have all the instruments in here that I can play and show you. So like the main part of this whole thing is the lead synth here. I'll show you it quickly. This is it. This is all live in Diva. So it's sort of like based on the Moog MS-20 type thing. And it's like the main voice of the track. It's the main lead sound. And if I jump back over to Touchdesigner, we go to here. This is what it looks like when you perform with it. So I'm about to break down what we've got going on in Touchdesigner, but this gives you an idea. So like every note has its own color. So yeah, you can see that every note has its own different color that it adds to the texture. And then you've got it going into a feedback loop to add the build up. It's like a sort of a brush. That's how I think of it. It's like a brush that you're brushing across the screen. And that adds displacement too. So you can see the trail going behind. I'll show you how that works in a second, but I just want to show you like visually what's going on. And then the longer you hold the note, so obviously if I do short notes, it adds just like little elements, but when I hold longer, the brush like spreads out. And I can sort of perform it and play it in real time. I tend not to because it's like often too hard to jump to the synth like directly. So let's just break that down. So here we are, Touchdesigner. We're deep in the set already. So this is the core of the set. We've got, let's just jump out for a second. So in my live set, usually there are a lot more songs here. So this is just Falling For It. This content has just this VHS glitch video, which I use a lot of the time to add like a bit of organic randomness to my sets. So this gets referenced in a lot of my songs. So I just keep it in here so that we can refer to it at any time. Over here, we've got the TD Ableton package. So this is where I get all the info from all the tracks coming in. So if I play, you can see in this Ableton MIDI, you can see the note data coming in from there. And if I just switch back to Ableton, you can see the TDA MIDI device right here on that track that's sending all the data from the notes that I play and then the notes that the track plays back over to Touchdesigner. So that all comes in. And let me open this output here so we can see it. I'll put this behind me. And then let's just go through how I translate all that note data. So this is the most complex part of the patch. So we've got the main synth controls in here. Going in, selecting the note data. Going into a little event chop here. So you can see, so that's really useful for when you've got a MIDI keyboard or something coming in. It creates a little event and then adds channels. If you like hold down multiple MIDI notes, you've got multiple channels going at the same time. So that's a really useful device for when you're doing this kind of audio reactive stuff. So then we go through a whole lot of different different processing. This is designing all the outputs. There's so many like different random outputs from here, and all different parts are connected together. I'm not going to go too deep into all of this. You can see these outputs around here, mostly because I honestly made such a mess of it. I don't really know which part is doing which right now. So I'll show you the brush itself being built, and then we'll refer back to this like data source for how I'm doing some of the transformations. But the first one I'll just show you is this device I made called Event to RGB Notes. So if you see, we've got this index coming in, and that's saying this index here, as you can see, I'm playing MIDI note 70, so that's coming in there. MIDI note 69, MIDI note 67, 63. So that's how I know which note is being played. And then going into this little device here that I've got that basically just takes, we've got the interface over here. You can see I've got different colors that I can set for each note. So say like C, I wanted C to be like, what color don't I really use? Like purple. No, I do use purple. Yellow. Like say I wanted C to be yellow, then I play a C on the keyboard. And now I've got that note being yellow, and then all C's in all octaves are going to be yellow. So you can see we're adding to the system in that way, but obviously I don't want C to be yellow because I don't play C's. There are no C's in the melody. So I will reset that. But that's just how I'm getting the color of the brush. So each different brush stroke has its own color, and that's coming from this little device here. So next up, I'll put that a bit higher. Next up, let's just go through the process of creating the brush. So this whole line of operators here is how the brush is being formed. Let me not resize that. So we start off with, I know it says circle, but it's actually a rectangle. A rectangle top. You can see up the top here, it says rectangle. So we're taking a rectangle top. We keep this pretty small. This is 512 by 512 resolution. We don't need to go for the full canvas size yet, because this is just the brush that's getting sort of like dragged across the canvas. So then that goes into a noise, well, two noises. One is generating black and white noise. One is generating full spectrum colored noise. This noise is displacing. And you can see here, we've got some controls coming in to this noise. So this noise is getting translated by abstime.seconds, but the period of the noise, trying different, yeah, so I sort of like I do it intuitively sometimes and sometimes like algorithmically. This time there was a abstract expressionist painting that I really liked, that I liked the color of. And so the colors are sort of inspired by that painting. I'm not going to tell you what painting it is, but it ended up looking very different in the end anyway, because you'll see further down the track I use like LUTs and stuff to change the colors in the end, and do a little color grading. But yeah, generally sometimes I'll use like algorithmic color scheme generators if I have like an idea of what I want, but then I don't know which colors to fill it in with, or in this case, it was just inspired by the colors of a certain painting and then combining the colors. And then in the end of the day, I started changing the colors too based on what the LUT was doing. So yeah, it's a different process each time. But I knew that I wanted to do like this one note equals a different color kind of a thing. All right, so this is noise. To get like the messiness in the brush, I'm pretty sure this is what we're referring to, noise 3p. So yeah, so this is just setting like random values for each brush. So every brush stroke has a random like displacement to it, to get that really like messy kind of a look. And this noise also has, we're doing random seeds. So this first noise, it's random periods. So the size of the noise changes with every stroke. And this one is just random patterns in the same sort of look. But it also looks like I'm transforming the scale too. So this noise is getting random scales each time. So that so then we combine these two this displaced version of the rectangle with this noise, which sort of it's been stretched out using this scale parameter. The scale parameter's been pushed all the way down. So if you like come all the way up, you get normal noise, but when you push it all the way down, you get this stretched out kind of noise you can see here. And that's what's adding, is like the bristles of the brush stroke kind of a thing. So that's how you get a more like brushy kind of effect. Then we're going into another noise. So another more high detailed noise. So we've done like the macro of the brush. Now we're focusing in on the micro details of the brush. And once again, we're selecting a random seed every time. So every brush stroke is different. And transforming that gradually over time. So there's like a slight change between within the brush stroke. So yeah, then we're going into, so that's that little micro change is implemented by multiplying the noise together. So then we've got a transform which is doing nothing as far as I can see. I'm not going to delete it to make sure it's not doing. It might be doing something, but right now it seems like it's doing nothing. So let me reset that. So then here we're getting into a more interesting stuff. This is where you can see the color coming in. So those RGB values that I generated before in this main synth control, they are getting piped into this constant. They're just set over here. So this constant changes to whichever color I want the note to be. And so we're just multiplying that by the brush that's coming in. Then we've got a level. And so this is controlling the opacity of the brush. So obviously when we don't have a note held down, we can't see the brush. But then it's easier to see on some of these brighter colors. So yeah, you can see that brightness is basically just there. We're just taking, I don't know which one of these channels is doing it exactly. It's the ADSR. So this is probably just coming straight from the event chop in here. So one of the channels of the event chop is this ADSR, and you can see it just goes to 1 when there's a note held down. And so that note being held down causes that ADSR to go to 1, which causes the brush to become visible. Then we get into combining it with the full canvas. So I'll see if we can view this. So here is where you can see our brush. Oh, that's not a good example. So we've got the full canvas, and so this is 4K 3840 by 2160. Everything's sort of built in this resolution, and so then we're compositing the brush over that canvas, and we're also controlling the scale. So this is controlling, you can see the scale over here is changing every time I hit. I think we've just got random scales going in there, so every brush stroke is a different size. And then this transform is the one that is moving everything around, I believe. Oh no, this one is doing the size of the notes. So if I pull this up, you can see. You can see the brush, this messy brush that we've generated. I can't see the black ones, but you can see it scaling up. So that's just that's what's causing those longer notes to have that like bloom out kind of effect. So that's getting controlled by, I think it's this index one where we've got this scale that moves up. And then this final transform, this is the one that is moving the brush around. So if we open this, you can see the brush is getting moved around. And you can also see it changes direction. Every stroke causes it to change direction. So it's like, I think there's a lot of work that I've done in here to determine like the overall movements of the, where is that? Yeah, so we've got an overall path here is defined by this noise. So we're adding these two noises together to create like a general path that it moves, and then there are like slight variations on the movement each time. So like it's like there's a general path, and then it's just like you're brushing strokes along that path using algorithms and shit like that. Okay, so the next part is this feedback loop. Don't worry about this. These are other things that are getting added into the feedback loop, but we're just focusing on the brush of this main synth right now. It forms the whole like basis for this. So this is our feedback loop. I'm actually going to open it. So this is what we've been viewing is after all the post-processing, but I'm just going to open the pure raw feedback loop. And one of the main differences you'll notice is the pinks. The pinks look a little different because in my post-processing, I am displacing based on the pink color values. So you get weirder shapes when the pink colors are in there. But there is none of that. So to capture all that brushstroke goodness, we are just sending this all into a feedback loop. I know this says over, but it's actually an under. Sometimes when you're working with these feedback loops, you've got to make sure that the resolution is set correctly, and I actually want this to be over its feedback, and so I have to use an under top there, if that makes sense, to keep the resolution right, because whatever goes into the bottom determines the resolution of this chop. So we've got this feedback loop. It is taking the brush strokes, and obviously a feedback loop just means whatever is at the end goes back to the beginning and gets painted over and over and over. So if I keep going, so that's the feedback loop. And then to add, this transform is doing nothing. Oh, that's another thing. We'll see that later. But there's nothing, the feedback doesn't fade away. So often people will put like a level top in the feedback loop to make it like fade out. But it doesn't, it just keeps writing over what we've got. And I use other ways to like move it out and fade it out. But most of the time I just hit the 2 button to pulse the thing. And so, wait, I'll just disable this displace. Thank you, Waverboy. Appreciate you. So if I did remove this displace, you'll see this is like the pure. So you can see that is what the brush looks like purely without any without this displace. I'm about to show you what the displace does. But as you can see, that displace is very important, because without it, you just get these build-ups based on what you've got coming in. But as soon as I re-enable this displace, you get, well, first of all, you get velocity. And then second of all, you get all these like glitchy elements coming in. So what is going on with this this displace? As you can see, it's coming out of this base here. So we're taking the brush, and we're also taking another element, but we're not going to talk about that element quite yet. So we're taking the brush. The brush is coming in here. We're compositing a bit of this like VHS glitch footage in. So like this is just it's about a 40-minute long video of just random VHS glitches, and it starts at a random time whenever I open the set. So if I come out, we'll go back to there in a second, come over to this content area. I've got a little algorithm with an execute here that sets the cue point to a random point within this video whenever the set starts. So so I don't really know what kind of glitches are going to come through. Oops, that's the wrong spot. I don't really know what kind of footage is going to come through, but it's all this like glitchy VHS stuff. So we're compositing this. This incoming brush is being displaced by this VHS. Oh no, wait, what is going on here? All right, so we're compositing. Oh, you can also see here the level is tied to the ADSR of the brush. So the brush, this VHS glitch only happens when you've got the, when the synth is playing. Like when it stops, it stops. So then this is getting composited with the brush. This is getting displaced by a little bit of noise, make things a little grainier. And then we're adding this circle. And this circle is getting driven by the same path of the brush. So we've got this circle that goes over here. But I believe it's being delayed slightly. We go up to null 4. So null 4 is what's feeding this. Null 4. No, that's null 14. Null 4. This is a delayed version of the, or maybe it's not delayed. I don't think it's delayed actually. So we're just following the brush with this circle. This white circle follows the brush. Then we take all of this and we go into one of my favorite little things that I've built, which is it's called optical flow trail. So we take an optical flow. This is David Braun's optical flow implementation, which basically gets motion vectors from what's coming in. So it encodes into texture red and blue values based on motion vectors, and that's what you get here. So every time I hit something, those red and blue effects, which have gone through a feedback loop. Actually, this is the better one to see. So these red and blue flashing lights are the motion vectors from all those inputs. So it's like the VHS glitch footage, the ball that follows the trail of the brush, and that all gets combined in a feedback loop. There's a little bit of displacement in that loop, and then you go out, and that goes out, and you are displacing the feedback loop by those motion vectors. And that's what's creating that whole like glitchy effect there. Okay, so that is how I started off making this. And I think we're going to move on to the next element now. So the next element that I added, I think I'm going to do this in the order that I added things. So I'm going to go back to our post-processed version. The next thing that I added was the snare drum. So if I disable, I'm going back over to my audio computer. Just disabling this. Devo is really hard on CPU, and I want to keep it close to real time as possible. So go over to the drums, and where's the snare? Not that snare. There we are. So this is the snare sound, and this is what the effect. If I go back over to the visuals computer, this is the effect that the snare has on the visuals. So as you can see, it's taking all the green parts of the image, and it is moving them, and I'll show you how it's doing that. So if we jump back in here, in our feedback loop, we have the green snare displaced. So over here we've got our drum controls, and whenever I hit the long snare, you get a little envelope here. So this is pretty simple stuff, just selecting one of the MIDI notes that's coming in from Ableton, renaming it, and running it into a trigger. And then what that trigger controls is this green snare displace area. So what we're doing here is we're selecting, using a chroma key, all the green areas and some of the white and black areas of the image. So all these, this is just a chroma key, nothing on the saturation or value, but in the hue over here, we're selecting a very narrow range of colors that correspond with this light green. So then what we're doing with that is, what are we doing with that? I mean, all we're doing is we're running that through a level. So this level is attached to that trigger. So whenever I hit the snare, you get a little flash of that. And what it's doing is it's adding that back in over, compositing it back over the feedback loop. So you've got, what I'm doing here is adding saturation. So you've got a more saturated version being added, And then over here, you've got an edge detection thing. And this is getting multiplied by this noise, and so you add a little bit more green in it. We've actually run out of green, so the effect's not working. I've got to switch back to my synth. Let me undo that. Go back to the synth. I need to add a bit more. Okay, now I've got a lot more green back in the image, so we can go back to me demonstrating how that snare works. So yeah, we're just adding this over, and I believe also, is this going somewhere else? No, it's just going in here. And there should be somewhere a transform. So this transform, as you can see, we've got the scale increased by 0.004, and then we're adding that scaled version. So when you scale it up, it stretches it outwards. And so then that's getting composited over with a little bit more saturation, the main feedback loop. And because it's in a feedback loop, it adds this effect where it pushes it outwards. So that makes a lot of sense now. And then this edge just adds a little bit of like extra green in, because otherwise the green gets like cut out too quickly. This is also affecting, if I go into the post process, you can see up here, we've got the same thing. But this is post the feedback loop. So we've got a chroma key selecting exactly the same amount of green. And then we're adding, and we're also adding all the white, because I wanted the white in too. And then we've got the level being run by the same trigger every time I hit the snare. It goes off, and then we're just adding that back into the main image. And that's what's causing that flash to happen. Every time I hit it, there's a flash. Okay, so that's the snare element. Then we've got the bass. And so the bass, let me add, no, this should be fine. Let me jump over to Ableton. I'll stop using the drum bus for right now. Jump over to the bass, and here is the bass. And if I can play it. I'm going to switch back to Touchdesigner so you can show, you can see what happens. So when I play the bass, I'll just so yeah, if you can hear those bass frequencies, what they're doing is they're taking all the red parts of the image and moving them around. So you can see any part of the image that's sort of red is affected by this bass sound. So in here we've got the red bass displace. So very similar to the snare, we've got the chroma key here with selecting the red portion of the image, doing exactly the same sort of thing here, We've got, you can see this is basically the exact same network as I used for the green displace effect. But this time, instead of scaling it, we're also scaling it a bit, but we're also translating it, we're also rotating it and scaling it. And these are randomly determined. So every certain amount of bars, it will select a new random destination, well, just new random values for all of these things. So the translate, the rotate, the scale, they all just get random new values. So wait, I'll just play one of maybe the verses. I think is going to be the easiest way that you can see what's going on here. So yeah, so this is, you'll be able to see the snares hitting as well as the bass moving, and you should be able to see the bars and beats coming in and these things changing. So I'll just play the verse for a second.
Falling sky, one last night, your eyes on me, you made out. Can you make out what I told you? Always shoot up for the stars, it's what you know. The lies they make you what you are, stack on the floor. No pills to find out what you miss. Things you're falling for. And the drip, who you are now. Tell me who you are now. Tell me who you
are. So that gives you a good idea of how the red values are working like that. There's also the same circuit that I had in the green, which adds in extra red pixels. So it takes this random noise pattern, multiplies that by edges, so like areas of high contrast. And you can see, like right here, this area here, as I hit the bass, it's putting more red into those areas. So we've got more red in areas of high contrast determined by a noise pattern, and then the rest of it just moves the red around. As you can see, it's like, you can see it really clearly getting moved with every one of those bass hits. And then that happens across the whole image. And then when the music is playing at random bars, it will generate things. As you can see, it's like a very alive feedback loop, so little bits of displacement still remain sometimes. They sort of get like added. So that is how the bass works. All right, next thing is the taikos. So the taikos, let me disable this bass right now. And go to the drum bus. The taikos themselves are on a separate stem, but I do have the tom-toms, which are alright, so you can see I'm hitting the tom-toms, and there's 3 tom-toms, and they hit all in the choruses. And you get these big flashes. So first of all, I'll just show you the taiko, these bars. And you can see I'm just selecting the notes. So 3, 2, 1. And using a bunch of a fan. So I get the value of which is being hit at the given time. classic technique using the fan to determine that. And then that's sort of determining the transform. So you've got this one rectangle that's transformed randomly across the screen every time the taiko hits, and it puts a bar, and that goes just into the feedback loop using an under. That goes directly in there into the feedback, causes the whole thing. Actually, you know what might be cool let's change this. Yeah, making changes to this on the fly maybe not the best idea since I've already designed it all, but that's fine. Let's change this op type to a composite, and then change the operation to add. And then I can add these taiko bars into the displacement too. And I wonder what kind of effect that's going to have. Now they're getting displaced. So it'll be interesting to see what effect that has when I put the full track together. So I'll show you, just because these get really full up really quickly, it doesn't look so good. I'm just going to play the chorus with the taikos in, so you hear, well, you see what it looks like when they're in, and then I'll show you how I did the flat.
Things you're falling for it. Things you're falling for.
So you see that when I'm hitting those taikos in the chorus, the bars, they disappear really quickly because there's so much displacement happening in the feedback loop. And so, yeah, you don't get as much of a effect. And something I really like about this system too is you get these really amazing glitches. The whole thing just looks like super cool. Like all these elements, they just look really cool. Makes really cool details. If I do say so myself. I might do like a print series of exports from this. So we've got to go into our post-processing section. Put this back down behind me. And where I really should name these things. I think this is it. Yeah. I'm going to rename this. So taiko flash. So I knew I wanted the choruses to be super climactic, and the best way to do that was to add a strobe that hit every time, because there's these big taiko hits that come in the chorus. They're like doo 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 doo. And so to get that strobing effect, I tried a lot of different methods. I'll actually show you because I've left them all here. So they're all cross. You've got a crossfade, and every time I hit, taikos are muted. You can see that crossfade bounces across, and so you're crossfading between what you've got, the normal input, and then a different version of the input, usually a Highland increase. So this was the first version that I made. So that's just a brighter version. I didn't really like the way the saturation increased too with the flash. It was just and it wasn't quite enough of a flash for me. And it makes you also feel that brightness, that extra brightness. First of all, it's not very bright, so in the full performance, it doesn't really light up the entire stage. And then also it's the extra saturation makes you feel like this looks desaturated, which it really isn't desaturated. It's just illusion. So then if I add this other one, this is another type of flash, so I'm just really blowing out the levels of everything. I think I'm using, putting out the lows. Am I inverting it too? No, not inverting it. So just increasing the brightness and the contrast, and then setting the low amount to high, and then just crossfading between that. And this was too much of a flash. When we tested it on the big screen, it was way too intense. Give everyone a seizure when it happened. And so the happy medium was what we've got currently. And this one's a bit more interesting too. So what we're doing is like we're taking the image and inverting it. So inverting the whole thing. So instead of what you've got, you're inverting it. Then decreasing the brightness and the gamma, increasing the contrast. And then, so you already get this flash effect because anywhere that's black now becomes white. And then I'm using an HSV adjust to rotate the hue so that the color is how I want it to be too. So let's remember it's negative 55. So at 0, that's basically 0. So that's what it looks like straight up inverted. But then you change it around and get it to a spot where it's looking nice, and that is negative 155. And so yeah, that gives you an idea of like how that flash works. And I'll just play that chorus again so you can see that all interacting. Maybe just play from the verse.
Always shoot up for the stars, it's what you know. The lies they make you what you are, stack on the floor. No pills to find out what you miss. Things you're falling for. And the drip, who you are now. Tell me who you are now. Tell me who you are.
Okay, so now it's time to switch to the moment that everybody's been waiting for, and that is the vocals. So let's go over to Ableton. I'll show you what's going on. So I'm going to disable that and go over to my vocal track. So these are the live vocals. I've got the mixed, like the pre-recorded vocals are sort of just getting piped in. But so like I'm just sending the lead vocals from here into the live vocals track. But now I'm going to switch this to live input. So I want this to be external in and track 1. And now we've got the live vocals coming in. So into sense only. So let's go to box. Test. All right, I'm going to mute my mic, but you should still be able to. Oh, so annoying. So I muted my mic. Oh my God, this is. So there's just like a massive delay on the mic input here. As you can see, the visuals, oh, you can't see the visuals actually. But over here, you can see the visuals are already reacting to my mic input. But let me just fix this. How do I fix this without ruining everything? Well, maybe I'll just keep doing it this way for now. And then I'll switch over when I actually have to sing. So this might be a bit out of sync because I'm using the mic input to the computer. But you can see that the mic is reacting in real time to what's going on. And I should also probably put headphones on for this when I go back to the other, to the live input, because otherwise it'll feed back the mic. So let's look at how this is working. So we go back to the start, just before our feedback loop. And this, what we've got coming in is the level. So if we go over to Ableton, and we go into this channel, we open this up. This is the Touchdesigner level TDA audio analyzer. So this is taking the live input that I'm speaking, and it's converting it into an audio signal. I mean, not an audio signal, like a different kind of a signal, a digital, a level. Anyway, so you can see this level coming in right here when I talk, and you can see it responds to my dynamics. And it works a little better when you're singing, obviously. So I'll demo that later. But what we're doing is you can see the trail here. So this is like the level of what I'm talking coming in. This is the really choppy version. I end up smoothing it out a lot. So where's that? There's this lag here. And let me see if I can find the final. Let's put another trail down. So here you can see this is like smoothed a lot versus the signal that's coming in that's usually really choppy. So you're getting like this smoothed out version of the signal going in like that. And then this is used to control a lot of things. So you can see, if I make this a little bit bigger, there's the threshold where it creates a new brush stroke. So if I hold a really long note like it's gonna like make a long line up. But when I'm talking like this, it's the level is jumping up and down a lot, and it's going past that threshold. And that threshold, you can see that threshold here, like every time I cross the threshold, it's generating a new noise value. And where is that threshold? All right, so this is the threshold here. So we've got a slope, and a slope is just taking the derivative of the incoming signal, and then we're lagging that, and then every time it crosses 0 or like changes direction, you're getting this count. And this is what's changing these like TX values, which changes the direction that this brush is moving in. So just break down the brush real quick. We've got a rectangle going into a monochrome version of itself being multiplied. We've got a noise, which is changing based on the signal. So this is the speed times 0.01. So as you can see, the louder I talk, the more this noise moves. And that noise is displacing the rectangle. Then we're doing a couple of things, just making it a bit glowy by taking a blur, adding the blurred version out. We're adding stuff to the edges here. Like you can see these little dark colors coming in on the edges by taking an edge to a threshold and then changing the color of that edge, so you've got a little bit more detail. Then we're multiplying that all by this noise here, and that is feeding in. And then obviously we have the volume of my voice controlling the like size and shape. Well, not really shape, but controlling the size of this as it comes in. Let me reset. So go which is, I'm sure, sounds great to you guys. So yeah, this is what we've got going on with this vocal element. Now let me just try and change all of the settings on my... I mean, let's just finish this off first. So there's a level here, obviously, also to make it go away. Then we've got the compositing in it over the resolution. We've got the movement patterns coming in through this transform here, and then that goes out. And then that goes into the start of the feedback loop with the live synth. and it also goes into the displacement, and that's how you get all those little displacement effects. As you can see, like you've got this really chopped up looking detailed thing. So next, there's one more thing which is in the post process. There's no, that's not voice react. Where is this? Is it here? Yeah, so you've got this being added to, not there, here, yeah. So we're taking a chroma, we're taking all the orange parts of the image, we're applying a level to them based on the envelope, we're adding that back into the main signal, so you get this flash on there. So let me just try and... Oh, just before we put it all together, I'm going to show you one more element in the post-processing, which is... Actually, no. We're going to try and put it all together first. All right, I just muted the mic. There's a little bit of latency, but I should be fine to sing like this. Oh, 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 falling sky, one last night. Why has that gone off the screen? Yeah. Your eyes on me, you made out. Can you make out what I told you always should? All right, let's try and put this together, and I'll try and sing live. Okay, so there you go. That's with it all put together. And, oh god, there's so much latency in my vocals, but I really can't go any lower on the buffer size on my computer, because otherwise it'll just have heaps of audio errors. So let me show you the next part. Always shoot up for the stars. Always shoot up for the stars. That's what you know. The lies they make. So that it gives you like an idea of how it works with the vocals and everything. But since all this latency is like destroying me, I'm gonna go back to the settings that we had before. Okay, so that gives you a demonstration of how the audio reactivity works. That's the main part that I do live. Like you've got that reacting live. I'm going to set it right back to if I go over to audio, so this live vocals channel, which everything's reacting to, I'm going to set it back to the lead vox is coming in, and this is going to go to sends only, and I'm going to unmute the lead vocals. So now back in Touchdesigner, things aren't reacting anymore. There are a few more things that I still have to show in the post-processing. There's this extra voice react element, which I don't know if anyone noticed. Let me view this. So what this does is it takes all of the blue parts of the image and makes them flash in time with this one synth. So very similar to before, we're just taking the level chroma key over here, taking all of the blue areas, selecting all the blue areas, and then basically just blurring that out and then adding it back in. And I'm just going to try and solo the sound. So if I jump over Ableton, so there's this sound right here on this channel, and it's what and so if I go back to Touchdesigner, it's a really subtle effect. You can see it around here. It sort of moves throughout the image. You can see it a bit there. Like you can see these levels going up and down. You can see the flashes in there. And then this is the other part, the breakdown that I wanted to show. So we have this. There. Now we can see the synth reaction really nicely. There's a lot more blue in the image. So it just flashes in time with that synth. So there's this extra pre-chorus. There's this extra pre-chorus in the second verse, and I wanted to add an effect. Let me just load up the chorus again so we can get
Think you fell in love with the lifestyle, cameras on lines and the drip. Who you are now? Tell me who you are now. Tell me who you are.
So I just had to like load up like the image to make it look a little bit more like it usually does going into the section. The thing about like these generative systems is that you have like all these effects going, but they sort of depend on each other to get the composition as it was before. So in this pre-chorus section, there's a special operator. I'll show you. I'm just using a switch to turn this on. So if I just go back to my feedback loop over here, we've got this operator called pre-chorus. If you look down here, am I using this? No, surely not. What's triggering pre-chorus? All right. Yeah, so pre-chorus switch, it's literally just coming in on a MIDI track. I'll show you it over here. So I've just got global CCs, and this is what I use. This track is what I use to anytime I need to do something that's sort of like a timeline. So like I need a switch, I need something to happen at a certain time in the song. I just use MIDI CCs, and so you can see right here, this one changes from 0 to 1 right at the pre-chorus. So this is the pre-chorus here, bar 65 or just bar 64, it changes to 1, and then after the pre-chorus it changes to 2, and that's what's triggering this effect. So I jump back to Touchdesigner, and we've got like the pre-chorus, and so a number of things happen here. once again, we've got a chroma. We've got a selection of all the blue elements. And so all the blue elements are displacing downwards. So there's no horizontal displacement, always all vertical displacement in the negative domain. So all the blue elements get displaced downwards. And then it also takes this noise, takes the edges, and basically the same trick as with the base, adding the red pixels in. This one adds blue pixels in to like basically anywhere that there's high contrast in the image. And so what you have is all the blue starts flowing downwards, and then all of the and more blue is added to the image, and then that blue starts flowing downwards. So I'll show you what that looks like. So leading up to the pre-chorus, it goes like this.
3-way call with your I didn't think you'd ever find out, man. Think you're falling for it. Think you're falling for it. Think you're falling for it. Think you're falling for it.
Like those blue elements get added in, and then they start falling away downwards, and then that gets cancelled back to the regular programming right at the bridge. So one more piece of stuff to do to have a look at in the post-processing. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain the pink. So if you have noticed, there's an effect that I take all the pink in the image, put that over a gray, which is a constant. So it's like not when you displace something, if it's gray, then it'll go nowhere. So if you composite something over gray, then anywhere that's not the thing that you composited will not be displaced. And then I blur it out a bit, and then I displace the entire image by the pink portions of the image. So if I disable this, you can see there's all that pink. And then when I add this in, it adds this extra like ripped up effect. It looks especially cool up here, I feel like. Let me make this bigger. If we go up here, and then we add this, so you get this blurry displace effect, and it sort of like mashes all the pixels together, but only around the areas that have that pink in them, like that. And down here too, if I add that displace in, it's taking like these black pixels and like mixing them around. So that's a sort of interesting effect that that is added in the post-processing. And then the other post-processing effect that I wanted to go over was this LUT. So this is a open color IO node, which allows me to add a LUT to the whole thing. And this sort of, I build these LUTs in Houdini and make sure that they're like good looking sounding good sounding LUTs. So just like moving the color values around a bit. So I'll show you the effect that has. So if I turn it off, it's pretty subtle, to be honest, just adding like a little bit of saturation, everything's slightly bluer, but in the end, it does make a pretty big difference. Like these lows are a bit higher than they usually would be. Instead of being pure blacks, they're like crushed blacks. And then, yeah, it just adds a little bit of extra atmosphere with that LUT. So then we've got the verse. Not the verse, the bridge. So I'll show you the chorus going into the bridge, and then we'll talk about what happens in the bridge. So this is the chorus going into the bridge. So that's the bridge. And as you can see here, it's actually really simple. What's going on here is that everything is as it was before. Everything is reacting like it usually does, but I've just added this transform, and this is translating things 1 pixel. So as soon as you're in, if I select...
I heard you need a new place to stay. Isn't that how you drive those fears away? So I can call you.
So you can see you have all the vocals coming in, everything happening as it usually does, and then but it's all just being you just add this transform where it moves over by 1 pixel. Let me grab this. And then that adds this sort of sideways motion to the whole thing. And it, you notice there, it actually went to 1.5. So at the very start of the bridge, it goes to 1.5 pixels transformed, and then it goes to 1 pixel transformed. And that's just because it takes a little bit to get going. You see at the start, like it takes a second to sort of, because what's happening is that there's a lot of displacement happening in the feedback loop. But then it takes a while for the sideways transform to take over. And so I wanted that to get started so that the bridge did actually like look like it was transforming and looked like it was going nicely. So yeah, that's what happens for the bridge. And it adds some interesting effects because like the brushes, they go, especially the vocal brush, it goes like straight onto the movement sideways, and so you get interesting effects, and you also get like these interesting pixel movements happening. And yeah, this is all just comes from that like sideways displacement, and it all just like looks sort of interesting. Looks better when you set it to 1 pixel width. So you can see these little pixels flying off here. It's pretty cool. I was going to catch it on the stream. But there's like, you can see individual pixels flying away. So yeah, that's just what happens for the bridge. And for you music nerds, there's also a key change there you might have heard. And then there's the outro. And so I'll play the bridge again, but then this time we'll go into the outro, and then I'll talk about what happens in the outro. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but you'll see pretty clearly what happens. But yeah, here's bridge, chorus into bridge into outro, and then we'll talk about what happens in the outro. So yeah, basically everything is the same as before. I was sort of helped out a lot in this outro part by the fact that the melody that I play with a synth is like very different to the previous melody. So there's like, it's a lot slower. There's more held notes, whereas the previous melody is like sort of fast. You're sort of playing a lot of notes at once, and so everything ends up a lot bigger. Like these brushstrokes end up bigger just by the way that the melody is naturally. And so the only other thing that I added is just why is this not going? So it's just all in this transform. So I'll go back over to the audio computer. So if I go to control, is it 15? Yeah. So right here, right down here, you can see all the controls, and this just steps up. So I basically put one of these little event markers. Oh, I'm right over the top of them now. You can't really see them. Let me just move that over to the side. You can see my awful desktop for a second. But yeah, you can see they just step up. And every time that there's like an event that I wanted to change, I added a new step up into that value there. And then in Touchdesigner, it's coming in under global CC controls. And that's control 15 there. And then I'm just using this switch to control the direction of the transform. So let me just pull it up and I'll show you that again. So we'll just do the outro again, and then you can see it switching. So if you, these are a bit small, aren't they? Let me view this one. Bring that up. So you'll be able to see the switch, which is controlling the direction that it transforms. It'll switch from like -1 to 1 and backwards and forwards, basically with those like big hits. I forgot to switch screen, didn't I? So this is where it comes in, where that controller value comes in, and then I've just got a switch controlling all of these, switching between all these different constants. This is a bit of a silly way to do it. I should have done a table or something, but this is the way I ended up doing it. And so then you're just switching between these values, sending it one direction or the other direction, -1 being transformed to the left, +1 transformed to the right, and that just happens at certain moments when there are like those big hits. So I'll show you what that sounds like. We jump into the bridge. Where do we want to go from? You feel alright. Okay, so yeah, that's how the bridge works, and so I'm pretty sure that's the whole of everything. I might just play the full thing through once more, and so then you can drop any questions any of you might have about any part of it. While we watch the full thing through, I'll answer any questions after we've listened through it all the way through, or if nobody has questions, and then after that we might look at the the live performance and what went into that. And so yeah, here's the full thing through all the way again at the end. And if you get any questions while watching it, just drop them in the comments. Oh, there is the start, which has a little audio-reactive effect, but it's mostly used as a transition, so I don't really think we need to talk about it too much. So let's go. that is the full breakdown. If you have any more questions, shout them out now or forever hold your peace, because if not, I am going to leave, and because it's been like 2 hours and I have run out of details to show you. We might do some more in the future, breaking down like the live performance set, because the live performance setup's a little different to this. Like I don't end up playing the synth live. I think I want to develop it out to have like a band with me, and so maybe somebody else can play the synth live and maybe have the drums live too. Could be cool. But yeah, this is where we're at now. Just trying to make sure I can do these performances like myself, and yeah, so that's it. All right. Well, peace everyone. Thank you all so much for joining in. It was great to have an audience for this, and obviously the VOD is going to be up on like Monday or something. So yeah, so great to see you all, and hope you learned something. Hope you found something. Yeah, thank you for the stream. As always, very inspired. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm just happy that I can share it, because like a lot of this stuff, it's like generative, and so it's hard to show everybody when you're trying to post on social media, and people just think, oh, that's it, like you've just made this one video, but the thing is actually generative. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time.